You know what? Samsung's made some pretty good Android devices in the past 12 months. They've made them in all different shapes, sizes, configurations, and they're available on all different carriers in the United States. What's going on, guys? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and I've got two very special ones, minus the voice crack, two very special ones in my hands right now. The Samsung Galaxy Note, the unlocked version, and the Samsung Galaxy Nexus on Verizon. Both of these are Samsung devices, and they both got some pretty unique specs. This is coming to AT&T soon, but this is the international version with a 1.4 gigahertz dual-core processor, a massive 5.3-inch display, and an 8-megapixel camera with Android 2.3. This is like a phone and a tablet combined. Then you have the Samsung Galaxy Nexus over here. It's got a 1.2 gigahertz dual-core TI-OMAP processor, and it's the first device to run Ice Cream Sandwich Android 4.0, along with a 5-megapixel camera and a nice 4.65-inch display. Which one of these should you go with? We're going to find out in the dogfight right now, but first, some love to Best Buy Mobile, since they hook us up with phones like this for use in our One Paw Bandit game. When you go into Best Buy Mobile, you'll walk out working. They'll help you set up your email, your web, your calls, your camera settings, and more on these devices, so when you walk out, you're good to go. Let's take a look at it. It's dogfight time. Jump right in and take a look in part 2 at the messaging interface, and you can see the differences here between having kind of a branded TouchWiz interface that's very different from Android, but still takes advantage of this full 5.3-inch display. You can see when you have a lot of threads running, I can click on a thread and easily see it over here, and this is a demo phone that I'm working with. I think that's the Droid Razr SIM card, if I remember right, but you get the idea. And a nice clean with individual times here, so I can see when I sent the messages, which is a big area of improvement on the iPhone and iOS, because it doesn't always show time, so you kind of have to guess as to when you send messages, especially if they're all in a row. So that's something to keep in mind. And over here, Ice Cream Sandwich, a very stock experience, but you can see some differences here. In addition to the on-screen buttons, you've got your new messaging area, your search button, and then your settings and additional stuff over here. So we'll go ahead and hit a new message so you can see what the interface looks like, and immediately you'll see a slightly new keyboard. This is the Ice Cream Sandwich keyboard, and it comes out of the box along, actually, I take that back, nothing else comes out of the box if I recall on this one. Swipe is not, yeah, Swipe's not compatible with Android 4.0 yet. So kind of thinking out loud on camera, if you will, and you'll see the Samsung keypad over here, but I'm running Ice Cream Sandwich keyboard free right now. This is a free download from the Android market. If you really have used the Galaxy Nexus and you just love the Ice Cream Sandwich keyboard like I do, you can access Ice Cream Sandwich keyboard from the Android market and download it for free. It's not as good as the original version, but still very, very good, and it's nice to see that ported over to the Android market for those of us that are still running gingerbread-equipped devices. But you've got Samsung keypad and swipe pre-installed, so I'll load up Samsung keypad just so you can take a look at how it looks on a 5.3-inch display, nice and big, and then you can take advantage of the S Pen capabilities as well. And you can use the pen, of course, and fail miserably at spelling like I am, hey there. Or you can, of course, use your hand also. How are you doing? And you can see just some random messages I've sent over the past couple of videos. And again, landscape mode, nice and easy transition. You get a huge area to operate thanks to that 5.3-inch display. So if you're a person like I am that has large thumbs, or you may not be quite used to typing on a touch screen, this would be a good option for you, even though it is a pretty big device. Over here, great keyboard with incredible responsiveness when it comes to autocorrect. So we can say, we'll just say, hey there, how are you, for example. And you can see, hey there, how are you doing? Easy, and it really did a great job of correcting my errors. And then again, 4.65-inch display is nothing to scoff at, though interestingly enough, the transition effects in Ice Cream Sandwich are just a little bit too slow for my liking. You can see it takes a couple of seconds. Supposedly, that's to prevent anything like if you're in a bumpy car, or you quickly switch and switch back, and you're like, oh wait, I still want it in landscape. It doesn't automatically transition back and forth. I think that's kind of a poor excuse in my opinion, but it is what it is, and you can see the transition effects are a little bit slow. But with a 4.5 or 4.65-inch display, rather, you got nice room to type, and still, for a device that's subsidized on a carrier, a very good experience here, both with the keyboard and with a lot of options on screen in terms of having extra room. Let's take a look at the camera on both of these devices. You get 8-megapixel cameras with 1080p HD video recording, and you can see how this big 5.3-inch display really makes it a good experience over here, because you get a lot of viewing angles that you can take a look at. And 5-megapixel camera over here, but also has 1080p HD video recording, I should say. And you've got front-facing cameras on both, so you can do video chats and things like that. And then you have a nice quick shutter on the Galaxy Nexus. So even though the picture quality isn't there, at least in terms of 5 megapixels versus 8, you do get the ability to do a quick picture. We'll use the Motorola Droid Razr Max here for sampling, and we'll just take a picture. We'll focus in, press and hold to focus in, and then remove to take the picture, and you can see, there we go, that's a little better. And there's a picture over there, and then you can see how fast the shutter is when I click it here. In just a second, we'll let it focus in. And you can see every time it makes that noise, I'm taking pictures. So very easy to use here, and then we'll go into one and take a look. And again, 5 megapixel camera, and then we've got our 8 megapixel over here. We're going to the gallery, and you can see kind of Samsung's user interface over this, as opposed to Samsung's not having an interface over here, it being a stock version. And pinch to zoom, very responsive, and you can even see the little speck there that's on the Kevlar back, which I didn't even notice until the camera showed it. I guess it was a little piece of something. But you can see how clear and how fluid this looks, and again, thanks to a gigantic 5.3-inch display, it is easy to see over here. Then you've got this over here, 5 megapixel camera, and the quality is relatively decent. You can see it still looks pretty good in comparison, although again, screen angles, you can see some, when you zoom in, you can kind of see some fuzzy areas around the curves, whereas you don't see those as much over here. So overall picture quality goes to the Galaxy Note, but in terms of quick picture, if you're snapping a quick picture in the streets, the Galaxy Nexus is going to be your device. Let's do some speed tests as well. HSPA Plus on AT&T versus, or 3G at the moment actually on AT&T Plus versus 4G LTE on Verizon. Now it's important to note that this thing will get LTE connectivity when it comes to AT&T, so keep that in mind. It will have that, which will be interesting because that's going to be a little bit of a drain on battery life, or so we think. We'll have to take a look at that when that phone comes in on February 18th or sometime around February 18th. But let's load up Quadrant Standard on both of these devices, and we'll run the benchmark right now. Now it's important to note this is just a benchmark. This is not indicative of real life performance. Take it with a grain of salt. But what I will say is that in terms of call quality, both of these devices have been great. The noise cancellation is absolutely phenomenal on the Galaxy Nexus. It just does a killer job with noise cancellation. Anybody I've been on the phone with has said, where in the world are you? Are you on a cell phone? You're on a landline? I don't hear any noise. It's almost unnatural, which is great to say, in comparison to some of the cell phones on today's market that don't operate as well. And then same thing over here. I don't hear the noise cancellation things as much on this one, but I've heard great things about the way I sound, and the earpiece is nice and loud as well. So 2,500 milliamp hour battery over here, 1,850 milliamp hour battery on the Galaxy Nexus. Now you can get an extended battery at Verizon that bumps this one up to 2,100 milliamp hours. But again, 2,500 milliamps, you would think that with a larger screen it would kill it off. But fortunately, I've been really pleased. After the Droid Razr Max, if I were to rank the devices on the market right now by battery life, Droid Razr Max would take the top spot. This would take the second spot, the Samsung Galaxy Note. So Quadrant Standard 3,677 over here. Quadrant Standard over here, we've got 1,327. So 1,327, 3,677 over here. Again, it's not indicative of day-to-day performance. It does have some weird fluctuations, and there's rumor that it may not be optimized for ice cream sandwich, hence the little bit lower score over here. These devices are both incredibly fast. You'll have no lag issues whatsoever with either one. It just depends on if you want a tablet-type device in your pocket, or you want something that resembles more of a traditional phone in your pocket. If you want ice cream sandwich, or if you're okay with a user interface, or perhaps you want an 8-megapixel camera, or you want a camera that's a little bit faster on the shutter. It's up to you. It all depends on what you want. But I will say that Verizon's LTE does suck the life out of this battery. This battery dies incredibly quickly. I have had to charge it 1 to 2 times in a day, so it's not the best in the world. So that's something to keep in mind. We'll go ahead and load up applications here, and you can see we'll do a speed test on both of these devices. Hopefully we can get an HSPA Plus. There we go, HSPA Plus signal, and we'll load up Verizon's LTE over here. Make sure we're on similar servers. Chester, let's move this one to Chester as well. And we'll do speed tests. And we'll load them up right now and take a look at HSPA Plus. Now in both cases it is rush hour right now, so keep in mind those speeds may not be indicative. But again, I have a Verizon cell site right across from my office, and it's performing pretty well. 16 megabits per second, about 17 megabits per second right now. And then over here, we're loading up right now, getting about 23, 24, 25, 2600 kilobits per second, about 2.6, about 2.8 megabits per second right now. And then on the upload here, oddly low upload speed. They quote 2 to 5 on Verizon's LTE, but this one is about 2.14 on the lower side. Then over here, even lower, 740 kilobits per second, so more in the 700s, but about 3.2 megabits per second. And on the upload, I'm going to go ahead and change this. So you can see, oh, never mind, 760 kilobits per second, about 3.2 megabits per second over here on HSPA+, and then about 17 megabits per second over here on LTE. Now keep in mind this will come to AT&T's LTE as well, though in real life testing in the Charlotte metro area, I've seen LTE speeds about 6 to 8 megabits per second in the Charlotte area on AT&T. Now both of these devices are killer, and it really depends, I can't emphasize this enough, it really depends on the features that you need in a device. The camera is better on the Galaxy Note, ice cream sandwiches over on the Galaxy Nexus. The screen is obviously larger on this device, but it may not be practical for some people with smaller hands or people that don't have big pockets or just don't want to carry around a giant book-sized phone. This may not be the most practical device. The battery life is better over here, but this is more pocketable. The camera is a little bit faster on the shutter here, but the camera is better over here. So, all in all, it depends on what you need. The winner of the dogfight is the Samsung Galaxy Note. And the reason why it's a Samsung Galaxy Note, battery life, a couple of features. Battery life, a better HD display that doesn't have pin tile technology, and as you can see here, an 8 megapixel camera on the back, and it's still very, very thin. It's a unique device. It's a nice welcome change to the US market, because choice is always good, right? And at least for the features that I think a lot of people will use, the Galaxy Note is the winner. Galaxy Nexus is still a great device, but it comes in just ever so slightly behind the Galaxy Note. Much more coverage to come on PhoneDog.com with both of these devices, so keep it locked on the site for continuing coverage. Be sure to like us on Facebook as well, facebook.com/PhoneDog, and follow me on Twitter. Let me know what you think. If you have one of these devices and you absolutely love it, or you think I'm crazy for choosing the Note over the Galaxy Nexus, let me know. PhoneDog_Aaron on Twitter and on Facebook at facebook.com/PhoneDogAB. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, we'll see you next time.